Hey everybody, hope everybody's having a good day out there. I'm Jim, this is the 312 Workshop. It's the Thursday before Christmas, as you can tell, and I've got to make some Christmas gifts. Let me kill this for a second, because I will get copyright struck. That's just the way it is. But I'm going to make a couple projects here, and our first project is one of these pixelated lamp things you see on Pinterest, on Etsy, those things. I like this one. It's kind of nice. I'll zoom back out a little bit. I like the cavities that are left so light can come through. I like the fact that it's there and there's a small block of wood under it. This looks like it was made from oak, from what I can tell. The picture's a little sketchy. Um, one one of the things I don't like about it is the lamp, the light bulb, right in the middle where it's visible. I want to tuck it up in. I'm basically using this as a jump off point. This is kind of inspiration. Another thing I'm not real thrilled about is there's no top to it and there's no base to it. I want to put a base on these. I want something a little wider, reveal detail, maybe a little cove around it, bottom and top, make it a little more substantial sitting on a small table or something like that. The interesting thing with a small shop is you've got to kind of tuck equipment around. This is my Craftsman planer that I have had for a long time. And it is faithful. It works. But I do have to move stuff around a lot. Okay. Here is my 50s era 6-inch Craftsman joiner. Doesn't get any better than this, does it, guys? All right, so I had to do some quick math, and hopefully you'll be able to see this. Um, Basically, what I'm going to try to do is I want 11 pieces, 3/4 of an inch thick on each side of this square tube. So, knowing that 11 times 3/4 is 825, and I know ratio wise, 8 inches, 8 1/4 inches, 8.5 inches. This thing needs to be somewhere between 24 and 28 inches high. I think 26 will be good. Hopefully, you can see that. Now, here's the thing you've got to remember, it's like counting fence posts. If I want 11 on a side, when I go to put this together, I need two sides that are 11. I will need two sides that are 9. So 9, 10, 11. So that way, as you look at it, every side will have 11 pieces across. Thus, it makes it all the same width. 8, 8 1/4 by 8 1/4. I want a square piece on the top and the bottom, 9.5 inches square, and that'll give me room for a little bit of detail, a little bit of reveal, and then a cove at the top if that's where I go. I may do something different. If anybody's wondering, I'm using Type On 3 because of that sale Lowe's had like 2, 3 years ago. I don't have that much, but I got a lot. That's the thing with a small shop. The table saw's got to double as a workbench. I think that's all I need for the table saw for a while. Drop that. That's all those. And those little small pieces I cut into other pieces. Okay, so now I'm starting to lay out my pieces. And as you can see, I've kind of laid out a rough idea of what I'm looking for. You can see the voids. You can see I've added a little gap here. Hopefully that's showing up on the camera. I'll have to look at the footage. And we'll go from there. Now, I thought about actually making a right angle jig, but I figure I'll just use my square because you want these to stay square as you glue them up, but also to one side has to stay square, and then you can kind of estimate where you need and then cut everything off. Now, what I'm doing is, and you can see here, I've actually joined the top and the bottom here. There's part of me that wants to try to glue this all up in one shot, but I would not glue the sides. I would just keep them in the clamping for calls to keep everything square, because I'm going to have to use small clamps here and here, and maybe even up here. My thought is this is the top of the lamp, this is the bottom of the lamp. But the idea behind it is, you clamp everything here with your parallel clamps, and then we're gonna have to put cauls on it to keep it from bowing, and I'm gonna have to put small small squeeze clamps here just to hold things together where everything meets. Okay, the glue ups of the top and bottom of each side are finished. I decided against gluing the straight side piece within this. Okay, these have set in the clamps overnight. Did a bit of glue up last night before I headed to bed. I did mark the different pieces, of course. And all right. So as you can see, we've got to start. I'm not sure if I am going to try to run these through the planer. Unfortunately, I have an older Craftsman planer, and it has straight blades, and I'm a little concerned that this is going to fly apart, but I am not planing end grain. I'm planing face grain. Um, Remember, the individual boards are 3/4 of an inch wide, but they're more like 5/8 deep. So I think I could take just a little off. It might help me with the sanding. So here I'm taking the pieces, the sides that I've glued up, and I'm running them through the planer. And I'm being real gentle about it, because some of these are facing the wrong way. As the planer runs down this way, it can catch on these. You've got to be careful. Like, as I've got a little bit of snipe here, because obviously this is bent funny. Because of the roller, so you do have to take your time. This just is smoothing these out a little bit. Now you see even here, I got a little bit of tear out because the grain's the wrong way. I'm okay with that. It's going to add character to the piece, but this will just help me be able to sand a little more. Some of these joints got a little rough, and I can work with them. Now I've got two pieces that are not joined. They're going to be the last pieces that are put in. But the trick is, when you're putting them in the planer, you want to run them this way. so it's planing to the end, so that way it's not biting into just this single piece that comes out. I'll show you how I do it, you'll see. But I actually run the planer up and I get a feel. Here we go. Yeah, I think you can see that. I get a feel for when it starts to bite on the rollers. I'm still not there yet. It's close right there. So I'm going to do it about a quarter of a turn and you'll see the process. I literally am sneaking up on this. It takes a lot of time. Okay, now I'm just going to trim this square to one edge. There's, they're a 32nd of an inch off in places, and I would rather just make sure this is square. So, and I'm not trying to cut a bunch off, I'm just trimming it. And now to trim these. Now, I am going to trim these to a specific length. Unfortunately, the way this is set up, I don't have a stop block, so repeatability is going to be a little interesting. What I'll do is I'll trim one edge off. I'll just take a thin slice off, and then I'll cut it to length. And now we sand. Anything to make sanding go faster. Hello, everybody. We're back after an extended hiatus on this project. Life happens. We know how that works. I put other videos out, meaning to get back to this, and just time slipped away. So we're going to start gluing this together. But the best thing to do is to glue two pieces together at a time, adding to this and then adding the final piece on, because clamping can get a little complicated, shall we say. So we're going to start laying down beads, smearing glue around, getting some clamps together, and we will see how far that takes us. Okay, and I do see I've already made a mistake. I put glue in where I shouldn't have. So, rag. Be better if I had water, but this will work for what I'm doing. I had to really think about how I was approaching this project, because it's been a couple months, as stated before, but we'll get back to it. So you want a little bit of pressure, nothing major. Now the trick is, and you might be able to see it here, I've got the one I'm gluing to it is a full-length piece like this one, and then the pieces that are coming into it have a hole. So I'm not gluing a continuous piece to a continuous piece. I'm gluing one that's partial. So I'm going to have to reach through here with a clamp and kind of glue those together. And I apologize, I've got a bad placement on the mic here. Okay, now we've got two sides done. Now the question is, I want to line things up so that it's aesthetically pleasing in what I'm looking for. So let's start with some possibilities here. And I'm placing this just to kind of get an idea. I want this corner to be the front, so I don't want a full length piece running there. This is going to be a little fun to put together, but yeah, I've got these two here a little close, so I may trim this one off, but I'm leaving this corner kind of open, and this is what I'm looking for. Now, that will hold that way so that I can glue this bottom piece in here at a right angle. But how do we hold that? Oh, I know what we'll do. We'll just bring that in, and that'll hold it.
Make sure these are lined up.
All right. Now for the fun part. Sometimes as you glue this up, you can only put glue on one side. So there we go. Clamps are off. Everything's glued together. It's pretty decent. Hang on a minute. Oh, if anybody's wondering, the music is Justin Johnson, YouTube from about 3 years ago. Imagine if Seven Nation Army was Delta Blues. Kind of nice, meditative to listen to. Anyway, so we've got this done. Going to require a lot of sanding. I managed to get pretty much everything level except for this piece right here. I'm about 1/8 of an inch off at this corner. It really comes down to these sat for too long and they shifted, of course, no finish, expanded, twisted a little. So a little bit of sanding, and I think I can get this pretty much squared away. Now you can see I've added a chamfer about 65 degrees to the bottom and to the top. Okay, so because the top of this is about 3/32 of an inch off, it's not quite 1/8, but it's close on one corner. I think the best thing I can do is carefully use the bottom as my reference point, not the sides, but the bottom, and carefully run it through my table saw, flipping it. And that should true up the top enough that there's not going to be a noticeable gap. Okay, as you can see, I've milled the top and bottom piece and wanted to show you the profile I've put on it just to give it a little interest, and it will fit nice. Now for sanding. Lots and lots of sanding. Okay, now that the sanding's done, trust me, that was a very shortened montage of the roughly 3.5 hours. Took the sand inside, outside, top and bottom, both sides, angles, etc. The chamfer, and went through went through the grids, 80, 120, 150, 220. It's not perfect, but I think it will look really good. I think I finally decided that I will be putting tongue oil on this. The next thing to do is to line up the bottom, make sure I've got the appropriate overhang. I am going to affix the bottom to this with screws and glue. And that's what we'll be doing next. Okay, I've got the bottom attached already, glued and screwed in. I'll show you that in a minute because I already have this lined up with the appropriate overhangs. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to reach inside and trace so I know where the inside line is, and then I am going to glue some small blocks in there that will fit not quite tight, but very, very close. And that way the top will be removable. And it's kind of hard to see, but you know, I've made some small pencil lines, so I'll be able to see that. I did want to show you the bottom is attached with 4. I just use drywall screws and pre-drilled, and there is also glue sitting there. There we go. Now, I've got my center X, a little hard to see. There you go. I've got my center X, so I know where the center is. I also know roughly where the center is in this. So, this is one way you can do it, which is to just stare at the X, slide this in place, and I know that I am very close to being exactly in the center. The other way you can do it is, and it does work, but it will take a little bit of time. And that is take a small ruler and measure, you know, and honestly, that's pretty good. I was a 16th of an inch off doing it that way. I'm going to go ahead and mark the holes for the lamp holder. So they're there. I know where they are. No big deal. And I will use a little, I use the spring markers. Old school, I know, but they work. And I've been collecting tools for like 30 some odd years. I'm not going to get rid of something that still works from 20 some odd years ago just to buy something newfangled like one of those press ones that pops. But that'll work. So I can drill very tiny holes and put in some screws to hold that in. But in the meantime, I'm going to go ahead and set these up and get these glued in. And I may actually cut one of these in half. Oh, interesting. One of them's got a slight taper. But I may go ahead and cut one of these in half so I have 4 small pieces. Oh, I should also talk about how to cut a very small piece on a radial arm saw. And again, I'm not looking for exact measurements. I'm like, okay, that's about half. Now, in another one of my videos, I made a couple of these. And that works just fine to hold it. So I can hold it and slowly come through it. My fingers are nowhere near the blade. Just watch. There we go. And I'm just going to do some glue and set these on here. I'll let them get tacky, but I won't let them dry completely, and I will test fit it to make sure it works. Okay, I've let this tack up for about 8 minutes or so. 8.8 pounds. Wow, Sears Roebuck and Company. I have no idea where I got that from. See? Got that. And of course, I'm aligning the grain the same as the bottom. But it just sits in there. It's a little bit loose, but that's okay. I am going to give it a simple tung oil finish. Nothing fancy. I figure that's the best way to do it. And I know that some people are a little surprised about the idea of brushing on a coat of tung oil. And if there are any bubbles or anything, of course, I am going to wipe it down with probably a Scotch-Brite pad to knock down the little nibs. Of course, the end grain really soaks it up fast.
I know this first coat's going to be a little on the rough side, but
Now, I've let the tung oil sit a little longer than the recommended 5 to 10 minutes, more like 20, 25 minutes, which it starts to tack. It gets a little weird, but I don't want a shiny finish on this. And that's another reason I'm only going to put one coat on. Now that it's been a couple hours, I'm taking some 4-0 steel wool and just kind of wiping it gently, a little hard with these, various places that the steel wool can catch on. But the idea is to just smooth out the finish, take out any glossy parts that I wasn't able to wipe initially. It hasn't completely dried. It's only been a couple hours. So my original thought with the lamp base and the cord was to install the lamp base on the top, which that's going to be the way it works. I want it lit from the top, not the bottom. But my original thought was to take the cord and run it down the inside and bring it out through a hole down here, this being the back side. I actually don't like that because the cord is black, and if I run it down the inside, you will see it when the light's on. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drill a hole right here, not in the end piece, but the next one in. I'll drill a hole there, run my cord in, and then what I will do is I will bring it over slightly and staple it and run it down that side. Not the most eloquent solution, but I definitely don't want to see it on the inside. Yeah, I know. Not the sharpest chisel in the drawer. It would have helped if I'd have run the cord through the hole before I put it in this. So I've left these just two staples loose. Um, if I had to do it over again, I might actually cut a channel down whichever one is the back. Uh, we'll turn the lights off. You can kind of get a feeling of what it looks like. That's better. As you can see, we'll do a little turning, as it were. I'll do it a little slower, but there we go. I have some clear little rubber feet that I'm going to put on the bottom once the tung oil completely dries. Okay, let's talk about this. Things that I've learned. These individual pieces are not exact. They are 13/16 by 3/4, and that is a large mistake on my part. Made assembling all four sides a little difficult. These need to be exact square. They need to be 3/4 by 3/4, 7/8 by 7/8. I might even try one 1/2 inch by 1/2 inch, but whatever dimensions you use, they have to be exact. It didn't really throw the dimensions off per se, but where you have in this back piece where I have two long full length pieces together, it actually left them with a seam that I ended up sanding. That's one. Two, I would I might make a rough template of length, width, and get them all lined up. But then I would either take them to my oscillating sander, my rigid oscillating sander, or even my buck tool, which is just a belt. Um, but I would sand all of these pieces before I do the glue up. that sanding this way, doing the hand sanding, it just took a lot of time. Another thing that I would do is it'd be a little hard because I like the fact that they're together. Everything is together, and you can't see. There's no nails. Everything's glued. But to make it easier when gluing up, like when gluing up this section or this section, it would actually be easy to pin nail. Put your glue in, pin nail, and then maybe just glue on the last piece. And remember, this is 11, every side if you look at has 11 pieces. So you end up making two with 11 and two with 9. And the 9s you could just glue because you could just glue and pin nail because it's going to be hidden by the end pieces of the 11. Yeah, just a way of doing it. I wouldn't necessarily try to pin nail like this detail where I have one up, one down, and then I have a small piece in the middle. I wouldn't necessarily pin that. I would glue that together. It might save a little bit of time, make it a little bit easier. But I would want to get away. I wouldn't want to see pin nails. I think that really makes the piece what it is. Another thing I would do differently. I've had this can of Minwax tongue oil finish. I bet I've had this sitting around for 15 years. Um, I would use walrus oil, pure tongue oil. I would use an oil finish on this instead of pre-made because even though it doesn't tell me what's in this, but I've heard enough. I've heard enough on YouTube and on forums and things like that tongue oil finish is not necessarily tongue oil. It's tongue oil with dryers and other things added, and that's made it a little difficult to work with. Um, I would definitely get around that. I definitely on the backside here where this wire is, I would definitely dado in a channel somewhere on one of the full length pieces. I would run a channel top to bottom and drill. I like the idea that that cord is hidden. It doesn't just come out the top. You can do it. Also, I noticed, and I don't know if that would help it keep it square, but a lot of them don't have an overhang on the top and bottom. There's a square piece that's inset in them. Makes it a very monolithic piece, which isn't quite what I wanted. Isn't quite what my wife wanted either. Again, this started out as a Christmas present for her, and here we are 6 months later. And that's just the nature of, unfortunately, my life over the past several months. Is things got a little crazy. Life happens. It's just the way it is. We're all in that boat together, right? I mean, that's just the way it is. Things happen, and suddenly we go, "Wow, it's been 3 weeks since I've been in the shop. I got to get in the shop." And I had projects I wanted to get. I wanted to get videos out. I did the planter video. I did a live video on 312 day. So 6 months in the making, but I think it came out pretty decent. And that's the important thing. I had fun doing it. I hope you guys have had fun watching. I'm Jim. This is the 312 Workshop. If you could, hit the like button on the way out the door. Hit the subscribe if you really feel like it. That'd be great too. And I've got a buy me a coffee link if you want to throw a little money my way. I'm having fun. That's the main thing. So anyway, thank you much for watching. Hope you enjoyed it, and we'll be back again soon with another project. You be safe. Bye.